Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Burton Shorts, or BS for short. I'm Jan. I'm from Rolleston-on-Dove, originally from Burton-on-Trent. I'm a Burtonian, lifelong Burtonian really. And once this vehicle's gone past the great big lorry, I shall tell you that this episode is about the Jinnie Trail, which is a nature trail. And this nature trail runs along an old railway line that went between Burton-on-Trent and Tutbury. So this is the Rolleston-on-Dove end. It was built in 1948, the Burton branch between Tutbury and Burton. It says it passed right by where we're standing and then went off behind me over the river Dove, eventually into Tutbury. Well, let's go and explore a bit, shall we? There's some things to see here. Right, we're just coming up to the remains of the old Rolleston-on-Dove station at one end of the Jinnie Trail. If you want to know more about what this channel's all about, go back to the very first episode called Pilot. So Pilot just explains, let's have a look at the signal box. Explains why I started this channel. Well, there used to be a signal box here. Let's have a look at the sign. Well, that clearly shows what it would have looked like a long time ago. So that's it over there, and we're close to that sign there. Hopefully, if you want to find out more about it, you can scan that QR code yourselves. Okay, let's go and look at some more. Well, as it says here, there's only remains of the old railway station. It's been planted beautifully as a wild flower meadow, I think by the local guides. So the passenger station actually closed in 1949, but I do remember trains in the 60s running along this line. So they must have been freight trains only. But that picture there gives you a sort of overview of the station. We're sort of standing about here, I think, down here. So let's have a little look up. There's a sign on the left. I'm going to follow the path to the right, which was, once upon a time, one of the two platforms. Well, it's on a day like this, it's lovely. And I'm now walking on the platform edge. There's no yellow line, there's no guard to say, or platform attendant, whatever they're called, shouting, "Keep away from the edge." And I think this on the right is the old waiting room. And I think at the far end there is the old toilet, or at least the outline of it. So it looks like what they've done here is sort of build up the foundations to put a low wall all the way around, so that you get a good idea of how big the waiting room was. Not huge, I suppose big enough. So they call it a booking room. I can see a waiting room, a ticket office, and that's pretty much what it was like, with the toilets on the left. So these were the toilets. Let's give a nice aerial shot. And of course, we've even got, I think, the original tiles. Perhaps from the gents, I don't know. Oh, I'm going to go this way, looks prettier. Crossing the lines, nothing coming. Very nicely planted. I think there's a sign up there that says who planted it. Like I say, I think it's the guides. We'll find out in a moment. Here's the view from the other end. I can see a bridge, a footbridge, which there's the remains of. We're going that way in a minute, so I'll show you that in a moment. Yeah, very pretty. It's quite a breezy day today, so there's probably quite a bit of noise. It's not wind blowing on me so much as blowing through the trees and making a right racket, so I may have to refilm this if I can't hear myself and you can't hear me. Well, there's a lot of information on there. I suggest you scan that for more information. I don't want to make these videos too long. They're supposed to be Burton shorts or BS. And I think there's one more sign before we basically chuff along the line. So what does it say here? This is a facility for the transfer of carriages, wagons and livestock. Okay. You could actually take horse-drawn carriages off wagons and cattle, things like that. Beer train, possibly bound for York, heads north through the station circa early 1960s. Well, as you'll find out in another episode, if you don't know already, Burton-on-Trent, my hometown, is a big brewing centre. Always has been, probably always will be. Hello, you alright? How you doing?
No fish round here.
Are there?
What is it?
Well, there's water at the top, isn't there? There's a camera. It's not a fishing line. Okay, well, I didn't want to talk about it while I was there, but those two stone, well, brick pillars are obviously the remains of the old footbridge that used to take a footpath from one side of the railway line to the other. This whole valley, by the way, it isn't natural. It was dug out specifically for the Jinnie Trail, for the train, for the railway line, but it now makes a lovely, very peaceful, when the wind isn't blowing too strong, nature trail. Very pretty. I'm hoping I see some butterflies. There were plans once upon a time to extend the trail at the bottom end across the fields where it's no longer used really, and probably 20 years ago, something like that, there was talk of Sustrans, that's the cycling charity, who were planning to extend it as a cycle route, rebuild the bridge as just a cycling bridge, obviously over the River Dove, because it has been dismantled. There is no bridge where this railway line used to go over the River Dove. That's now defunct. It's just a set of big stone, I think they're stone pillars. Not sure you can get down to look at them. I'd love to go down and look at them. If I can, I will, and I'll include that in a future BS episode. Okay, I'll pick you up again at the top end. Right, this is the gravel loading dock. It was built about 1920 and used up till about 1966, so when I was 7 years old. And basically lorries full of gravel dug locally would reverse up to the top of that wall structure and tip their gravel into open trucks that would park underneath it on a line that now no longer exists. So that's been donated by the railways to sort of reconstruct a little bit of what it would have looked like. Let's have a look up the top, shall we? Not very often I come at the top. I usually walk straight past on the bottom path when I go on one of my very, very frequent walks. It's nice to do something slightly differently when I'm making a video. Just something as slightly different as this does feel good. Where they've made, I'm sure this isn't original, a lovely pond which if you stand here a while you can see lots of wildlife in it, pond skaters on it, that sort of thing. Not quite sure why they built this structure out here, but I've never seen anybody on it, but I'm going to go on it. This is the end of this section, the nature trail, but the trail does continue briefly on the other side of the road, so we'll cross over there. Okay, we need to cross this road now because the old line has been chopped in half. I guess there was a level crossing here once upon a time or something. I'm going to hop across while it's quiet. And the trains, once upon a time, would have continued this way to Burton, or the way behind me to Tutbury. There is another little bit of railway line here, just to give the impression, to give a scale I guess, as much as anything. Let's have a look. Stretton and Clay Mills, so I'm not sure if the station was back there or up here. There's a sign on both, but that's the same sign as there is the other side of the road, I think. It looks pretty much the same. In the late 70s, 80s and early 90s I used to work for British Rail, and the story always went that the sleepers were spaced out just far enough that you couldn't walk quickly to slow down railway workers, and I must admit whenever I've done it they never feel quite right. Sort of, you can't quite stride quickly and you can't do little steps quickly. Hey! And this bit of railway line was, oh, it's in honour of Sam Reed, MBE, dedicated to his memory, Stretton Parish Councillor, an inspiration to all. Okay, I'm now arriving at the end of the Jinnie Trail in Stretton. This is Main Street stroke Princess Way, perhaps where they swap between the two, I'm not sure. They've planted a few nice flowers here, again a bit more like a wildflower meadow than formal planting, but it's very pretty. So that is the end of this episode of Burton Shorts, or BS. So I hope you've enjoyed the BS, and please tune in to another one shortly. Okay, bye bye.